We will go to the next topic by Vidya Ramkumar, who will talk on application of tele-technology in audiology.
I'm Vidya Ramkumar, and I'm an audiologist and speech language pathologist working as a lecturer at Sri Ramchandra University, Chennai. I'm going to talk to you now about the application of teletechnology in audiology, which also is my topic of research for my PhD. These are my advisors. As an audiologist, the pressing question remains as how to curb the pervasive consequences of a congenital hearing loss. And towards this, organizations such as the Joint Committee on Infant Hearing have suggested newborn hearing screening as a protocol in every hospital where before the baby is discharged from the hospital, they take up a hearing screening. This has been followed in the Western countries in a hospital-based model where before discharge, every baby is being screened. Just to give you a brief about the structure of the newborn hearing screening program, there are two levels of hearing screening which happen. The first two levels are used using an objective measurement like the autoacoustic emission, which is a very basic handheld screener, which can be carried out by a nurse or a health worker or a social worker wherever available. And when there is a refer result at two levels of screening, then an audiologist needs to step in to do the diagnostic auditory brainstem response, which is a diagnostic test to confirm the presence of a hearing loss. The success of any newborn hearing screening program, there are certain indices, one of it being the number of babies screened out of the total number of babies born. The number who follow up for the second screening. There is no point in having a screening program like the SCARF presentation also mentioned. There's no point in doing a lot of screening, but you don't have the ability to make a final diagnosis and help the patient. So the important indice is, even though you may be doing the first screening, how many babies really follow up for the second screening, and then further, how many come for the diagnostic testing. This has been a considerable challenge. The other is the number identified and rehabilitated for hearing loss before the age of 6 months. So the challenges of newborn hearing screening in India is one, the lack of availability of audiologists. There are only about 500 practicing audiologists in the country available for diagnostic testing. The other is the number of centers which can do audiological testing with the infrastructure. And to build this infrastructure, it requires about 13 to 16 lakhs of rupees for one equipment. The large number of births are again in rural areas, and our hospital-based systems may not really reach these areas. And again, parents hesitate to bring these babies for those follow-ups, even though they may come for the initial screening, because of the travel time, cost, and the wage lost, especially for those who are daily wage workers. Despite these challenges, there are a number of hospitals which have set up these newborn hearing screening programs. I've listed a few of them. But the challenge again remains that, like in one of the studies, they reported for only 5% of these babies who are screened to be actually following up for the second screening, and only 12% reporting back for a diagnostic testing. Even the National Rural Health Mission, which rolled out the National Program of Prevention and Control of Deafness, faces the problem of building infrastructure at various primary health centers and the lack of audiologists to be able to run these diagnostic tests. So an alternate method may be to provide these diagnostic testing facilities, since the screening can be done at the grassroots level, at least the diagnostic testing facility through the teletechnology. Teleaudiology is very nascent, new. It has been explored in the United States and now in South Africa, around Pretoria, where they have claimed telepractice to be valid for newborn hearing screening and have found identical hearing screening results between face-to-face and telemode of testing. So the problem that we faced at the Department of Speech Language Hearing Sciences, despite having a newborn hearing screening program since 2005 and screening over 4,000 babies, we also faced an important challenge of getting babies for a follow-up for diagnostic testing, and also we were not able to reach out to the rural community, being in a hospital based in a tertiary care hospital. And then when we looked at our strengths, we had 7-year experience in community-based services for cleft lip and palate. So we understood the pros and cons of setting up such a model to reach the rural community. And our second strength was the telemedicine department, which has been there since 1999 and has been delivering various teleconsultations to the government and private hospitals across the country. So we decided to club the two strengths to solve our problem. So we came up with the idea of and we conceived the project, a newborn hearing screening using teleaudiology, a quasi-experimental study. This program is being funded by the Indian Council of Medical Research, partly, and the equipments have been donated by the GSI in USA. The aim of the project is to study the efficacy of a community-based teleaudiological model of service delivery for newborn hearing screening. I won't go into the details of the procedure, but basically what we're looking to do is to compare the traditional model where after the 2 screening, the third level of diagnostic testing, you ask the baby to come to the hospital for a confirmatory test. And in the other model, we are going to do this in the tele mode where the mobile telemedicine van will go to the rural area, baby will come into the van, and the ABR testing, which is the diagnostic testing, will be done through the real-time tele mode. The project site is in Kanchipuram district of Tamil Nadu. We've chosen 2 blocks, the Maduranthakam Thirukazhungram block, and we've identified villages. We have a local NGO which is supporting us, which is a RUSEC organization, and these areas are about 70 kilometers away from Chennai. This is going to be a 3-year project, and the personnel involved are the village health workers, village level coordinators. We have 2 teletechnicians and the audiologist to do the diagnostic testing. The teletechnology involved will be the mobile telemedicine van, a satellite link, which is the VSAT, and a video conferencing system. And for the audiological testing, we have 2 screening OEs, which will not really be tele-linked, but they will be used by the grassroots workers to do the 2 levels of screening that I mentioned to you. And then the diagnostic ABR testing. There you see on the left corner the Ramchandra Hospital mobile telemedicine van. Inside, we have connected the diagnostic ABR system, which is tele-linked. And again, bottom left corner, that is the real-time diagnostic ABR test that is being done on a baby sitting inside the van, which you see in the right corner, where the baby has been prepared for the testing by the health worker. So the project involves all the various phases that I've listed, and I'm going to share with you briefly about the pilot phase alone here. The need for the pilot is, so far there has been no real-time tele-ABRs or tele-audiology that has been done, especially in the mobile telemedicine van. So we were not very sure about the feasibility of conducting such a test, because I will show you a little later what are ABRs and how they look. And they are highly based on the latency of the response that we get. And there was always a question among the audiology colleagues as to whether tele will really affect these latencies. So we needed some validation that there was no difference between the tele mode and the face-to-face mode. So the aim of the pilot was to compare the latencies, amplitude, and morphology of the auditory brainstem response obtained in the face-to-face and the tele mode. So we used the GSI Audera system, the diagnostic ABR system, to measure the ABR in 5 adults and subsequently on 24 newborns in the face-to-face and tele mode. For the tele mode, the ABR system was tele-linked from mobile telemedicine van to the SRU using the VSAT. Health workers prepared the skin, placed the electrodes and transducers on the baby for testing. The responses were obtained at 3 different intensities, and the ABRs were compared between the 2 modes. So here is the normal auditory brainstem responses. What is very important to us is to see those peak 5s. The lowest intensity at which we get determines the hearing threshold of the individual. So based on the pilot for the adults, we saw that the peak 5 latency was very similar for both the face-to-face mode as well as the tele mode. There was a difference though. In the tele mode, consistently we saw the latencies were a bit prolonged, but they still were falling within the normal range. The amplitude and morphology of the ABR obtained in the 2 modes were comparable. Here I'm showing you for the same patient when we did it in the face-to-face mode and the tele mode, and at least by the look of it, you can say that they look very similar. If you can, I'm not sure if you can, the latencies only differ by a 0.3 0.03 or 0.04 milliseconds, which is within the normal limits. That's the left ear for the same patient. And then we went on to do for newborns. Since the project primarily involves newborns, we wanted to pilot it on newborns as well. So the lowest age of the newborn was 8 days and the highest was 30 days. So we looked at very young babies. And then we again compared these results between the face-to-face and tele mode. And we found that for all three intensity levels that we attempted, there was no difference in latency between the two modes. There was no effect of intensity and latency on the amplitude morphology and the overall appearance of the waves between the two modes. We also looked at time taken because this was very important. As such, the ABR test can be done only when the baby is sleeping or when the baby is not moving. So it takes a long time to put this baby to sleep and get the baby ready for the test. And in addition, if there was any excess time taken because of the real-time testing, we wanted to be aware of it well ahead. So we calculated the time taken per year, and we found that for the tele mode with the video conferencing, it took about 15 minutes per year. And without the video conferencing, it took about 10 minutes per year. And for the face-to-face mode, it took about 9 minutes. So the video call is only essential till I see that the baby is prepared for the testing where the electrodes are placed, and I know the baby is ready. And beyond that, I don't really need the video conferencing system. So 10 and 9 minutes, again, looks very comparable. So I would like to conclude here. The results of this pilot suggest that tele-ABR is feasible in a mobile telemedicine van with the help of village health workers preparing the baby at the remote site. And the results between the standard testing condition, which is the face-to-face mode, and the tele mode is also, again, comparable. And this study is a preliminary step towards application of auditory brainstem responses in the community with the assistance of village health workers. I'd like to acknowledge ICMR and GSI for supporting this project. I think today I just shared the pilot because we've just about started this month rolling out. We've gone into the implementation phase, and we would have had far more lessons learned and to share with you the next time. But a couple of things that was shared even before is just because we're able to reach a lot of people through these services, it really does not mean people take to it very easily. One of the first experiences of taking that mobile van with the big dish was everybody in the village thought we were coming from the film industry with a cine van to do some sort of a shooting. So they were expecting some stars to come out of the van. So there was a lot of hype about the van. But later when they all came into it, we didn't know whether to keep the AC on or AC off because people in the village, they're not used to AC. And if I didn't put the AC on and I had to leave the door open, then that was not good for my hearing testing because other noises were affecting. So there are some anecdotal experiences that we already have, but I don't have anything concrete to share with you now. So maybe next time when we meet, I can share greater depths of this project. Thank you for the opportunity. No, sedation does not affect. Actually, usually a cough syrup is given, but for newborns, you need a neonatologist prescription, and they don't normally give a sedative for a newborn. But if it's an infant, a slightly older child, a month or two, then with the prescription of even the PHC doctor, we can sedate the baby with pedicloral. Usually we give pedicloral to sedate. Yeah, which is not very difficult because newborns ideally just sleep all the time. But you can't expect them to completely not move. So that is a bit of a difficulty. It's a little bit of a challenge. They usually have to wait for about 15 minutes to half an hour. Some kids are very sensitive. So they may be sleeping. The moment you put that transducer in their ear, they start shaking up and pulling out. Some kids just like to pull the electrodes off. They don't like. So those are some of the challenges that we have. But world over, this is how it's done. So it's not something, yeah, older children can be sedated. Even adults sometimes are sedated. Correct, correct. Correct. Yeah. So there is a challenge here. the key point why we try to apply the tele mode of audiology, auditory brainstem response is because that component, the diagnostic component, can be only done by the audiologist. So if I don't have an audiologist, I need to either send the audiologist to the village, make them store and then forward. Then again, I'm not serving the purpose. I'm making one extra, as it is, I'm saying there are less people available. And if I'm creating a model which requires the audiologist to be traveling, then I'm not allowing much of duplication of the project. So, which is why we kept it as, correct, correct. No, it's not. It's a very active process of testing. It's not about, like for example, I was trying to learn from the experiences of ophthalmology and if it would work. And I was seeing that, you know, I think in most other applications, at least that I've come across right now, it's a click of a button and then you transfer the image or something like that. Here it doesn't work like that. Based on what I see at 70 intensity probably, I decide whether to do a 50 or not. I go ahead with a different rate. I change filter settings. So there is an active testing process involved, which is why you know, we cannot have any other person trained to do the same process. Not really, which is why the OE screening is a very simple procedure and does not require an expert to be doing it. It doesn't require any analytical thinking or science application. Anybody who would know to use a cell phone would be able to do it. In fact, the health workers, I was very worried when I went to do the training. I was thinking how to make them understand the English word pass and refer that would display on the screen. They said, madam, what is there? We use cell phones and they're so familiar with yes, no, you know, very simple English short words. They were able to do it. So we were able to train them for the OE screening, and all over India people, and all over the world, people are looking at training these grassroots workers to do the OE screening, which is just a click of a button. It says pass or refer, that's all. But this ABR requires analytical thinking and it requires some amount of science application. Which is not really a grassroots trainable process.